Welcome back, Shinners. Welcome back to the Shindig podcast, where we get under the skin of the UK. Sorry, we've already gone worldwide. Not the UK anymore. The worldwide trials community. I'm just stuck in radio mode. Like, this is my usual gab. I am Tom Hutley.
And I'm Matt Pengelly.
And together we are here with some new faces to trials.
Yes, we actually have brand new trials riders on the show to try and get, perhaps they can tell us what we're doing wrong, or maybe we're doing something right. I don't know. From the lovely warehouse of Tartybikes, let's hear it for Ben and Charlie, or Charlie and Ben. We haven't decided yet. How you doing, guys?
Good. Yeah, all good.
Look in your elements there. I can see you're in the. Give us a little bit for the listeners where you are right now, what we can see.
Well, this is Charlie's domain. We're sat in at the minute. So yeah, this is the workshop. And then just behind us, you've got kind of the office and packing area. You probably just see.
Yeah, we can see Adam in the background there. He's packing a box.
Actually doing some work.
Oh, that's it. Ben and Charlie have taken the morning off, so Adam's now having to do all of the packing, I think, now, by the looks of it.
Yeah. Don't be fooled. I did a good bump this morning. It doesn't work that hard.
Are you quite the multitaskers too? I know you guys wear headsets too, don't you, to answer the phone? Is that a thing? Like,
we can't do a bit of everything, don't we? We're all sort of pitch in where needed.
See, there you go, guys. There's no excuses. Take phone calls whilst packing tyres, and giving advice. I love that.
That's true efficiency, multitasking, a skill we need to learn. So. Yeah, so you guys are pretty fresh to the sport. Quite interesting because a lot of the people that have worked at Tartybikes previously, as far as I understand, have kind of come at it with a trials background. They've been trials riders. They've gone, right, okay, let's go work at Tartybikes.
Most of them have been almost pioneers. Like, everyone who's ridden for Ty has been pretty good.
Yeah. So
you've got a lot to live up
big
to.
Big shoes to fill, yeah.
Big shoes to fill, yes.
You came to the job knowing who I was replacing, or at least I knew his name anyway. Stan, obviously, is the person I've replaced and the role I've taken on, and obviously Charlie's taken on Cap's role. You know the names, and unfortunately I never got to meet Stan, but I met Cap. But as we've we're both new to the sport, and as we've gone into the job, we quickly realised, no, bloody hell, these guys were good riders and really well respected within the community. And it's just kind of like, I don't know, it's like when you start any job, you kind of think, okay, this is the role I need to do. But then you realise, this is a big pair of shoes.
There was more than just the job role, wasn't there?
Yeah, really. Yeah.
And how did you guys find it? Give us a story about how you actually found, say, Tartybikes, and how you guys got into the position that you are now. You're on a podcast for Trials Bikes. I mean, how did you guys get here?
Yeah, your career's definitely gone a tangent. Well, I think I will say the same. We've both been in the cycle trade for years and years. Myself, it's been about 11 years, roughly. And I've always been
in the cycle trade. Sorry, I get cut out then. Yeah, you said
in the cycle trade. Yeah. So just working in what you consider traditional bike shops. I've always been working in that environment, and I don't know. After sort of 10 years or so, it starts to get a bit stale. And the job I was in previously, it wasn't really working for me and whatnot. And I kind of saw the job pop up for Tartybikes on the bike jobs forums. I think it was cycling industry experts. I saw it pop up on.
Okay.
And I just thought, wow, that's local. That sounds really cool. That's kind of the sort of thing I'm looking to do, something a bit different. And yeah, that's kind of how I came across it. Up to that point, at no point had I ever considered trials in any form. I kind of knew it existed and I knew a bit about it, but I never actually thought, I'm going to go work in a trial shop. It was a bit of a weird...
So you came across Tarty, the brand, the name, before you actually knew what trials was?
Well before, yeah.
Okay. That's interesting. Yeah.
I was aware of Tartybikes years and years ago. I was just a teenager. A lot of the guys I used to live in Earby, which is a small town near Balnolswick, and obviously you guys know the Hope factory's based near there.
Yeah.
And they used to help and support some younger riders. So trials was kind of like quite present when I was younger around that area. So I used to see these kids riding these mad Monty bikes with weird handlebars and no seats and stuff. And I was kind of like, oh, wow, that's really cool and really weird. And that's kind of, I've always been aware of it sort of in the background, these odd bikes and riders and stuff. So yeah, it's kind of cool to finally come full circle and be here.
And how about yourself, Charlie? How did you come across?
Yeah, so kind of a similar sort of thing with Ben, really. You know, I knew of trials from a few years back. I think like that Emacs video, Way Home or Long Way Home, or whatever it was, probably my first introduction to trials. I saw that, and I was like, oh my god, that's amazing. But I didn't think anything more of it.
That's it. That's what he said. Obviously, the first video you said was Danny Mac. Like, no,
yeah, it's kind of like the mainstream kind of introduction to it, isn't it? And yeah, so I sort of come across that, but then been working in the bike trade for about 8 years or so. And again, sort of similar to Ben, kind of got a bit stale, got kind of a little bit bored, and then sort of last year I think it was on Bike Biz website, I saw the Tartybikes advert, and again I knew of them, I didn't really know a massive amount kind of what Tartybikes was at the time, because not being into trials at all. Figured it sounded really interesting, something really different, so I took a punt, and then here we are.
To change it up and introduce yourselves to a new sport, did you think that you would become trials riders? I mean, that's what we're calling you now. You work for Tartybikes, so I think that was part of the CV. Luckily, you managed to skip that part.
And I like to think Adam had a plan,
Yeah.
like when he's seeing, can I get them this way? Like, can I mold them into the trials fold?
Yeah.
I mean, for me, it's every shop I've worked in has kind of had its own niche, whether it's mountain biking or road or whatever it happens to be. And you always kind of cycling. I think we're all interested in cycling as a broader sport. So you kind of take an active interest in whatever it is that business does. And
it's got two wheels. I want to know more. Yeah,
exactly. Yeah, and I've kind of always messed around doing a bit of trialsy stuff on a mountain bike and whatnot. So I was kind of like, when I started the job, I thought, yes, this is great. I want to get into this. This is really fun. I've done all the other stuff. I've done all the road and mountain biking. This is so different to everything else. And it's really nice because, like Charlie says, it does get a bit stale. So to come at something totally new and a totally new challenge is just awesome. It's really cool.
Yeah. I think it can be hard to find with cycling of anything. It's been around for so long. Someone comes across trials itself and it's like, I can't do that. That's weird. Like, it's out of their reach. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? People look at it and just think that's what they do at the circus. That's what clowning around. Like, you don't sort of relate to it to try it. So how have you found getting into the sport? Let's sort of dive a little bit into the actual moves and your actual riding. What are your first kind of?
Well, I'd be interested to know actually what did they bring to trials? What were they like as a rider? Like, just to see this journey.
That's
like,
a good question. Yeah.
So how before you got on a trials bike, what was your kind of skills? Had you done, I don't know, say tire taps on a BMX? Were you just doing wheelies on like another bike? Were you jumps or whatever?
Or just cycling down the street? You might not have done anything.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, so for me, I come from like a bit of like a mountain bike background. So I've been mountain biking since I was sort of a teenager. Done a little bit of BMXing as a kid, but was just terrible. So that didn't last very long. Kind of a bit of road cycling. But in terms of like skill, like I wasn't that good. Like I couldn't really wheelie very well. I couldn't really manual particularly well. I just kind of liked my style of riding. I just point the bike downhill and let go of the brakes and hope for the best. Is sort of
which is like trials is the complete opposite. Yeah, essentially.
So yeah, it's definitely like a real kind of change in approach to how I do things. So yeah, I don't really have any kind of transferable skills into the world of trials at all. I've come from it as about as fresh as you can, without having not been on a bike before, and that's about as much as I can relate to it.
Yeah, it's like a whole new skill, really, sort of learning from the start. Which is
100%. Yeah.
And then how about yourself, Ben? What did you bring to the trials?
So for me, during teenage years at college, I actually had to do my psychic 2, street style bike. So I used to do a bit of street riding way back in the day, and there was a lot of trialsy stuff involved in that. But I kind of had that background. I've always done cross-country mountain bike racing. That's what I've always done. But I had this period where I had that bike, and I kind of really enjoyed it. So I knew some stuff. But the actual trial skills and things, it's like Charlie, he's kind of coming to it for the first time and learning it for the first time. So there was a bit of transferable skill there, but it's definitely feels like it's starting from scratch.
Getting on a foreign bike, right? I mean, it says it all. Just sort of pedaling. What were your first experiences on a trials bike? I know I had a really bad injury. My first ever try, my finger didn't reach the back brake. I tried to jump back, it didn't, and I looped out. It's my first ever attempt on a trials bike, and then I was like, that's going to take a while till I go back on that. What was your first kind of experience on the weird alien bikes, as people call them?
Well, I did what a lot of people think is the wrong thing to do and got straight on a modified bike with a high bottom bracket and long stem and all the rest of it.
What bike was it, out of curiosity?
Wobbly. It was weird. What shocked me was just how easy it was to get on the back wheel on the bike. It took a bit of practice to get used to it, but the first couple of times I got onto the back wheel, I was like, wow, this isn't actually that bad to do that. And you start sort of progressing quite quickly and hopping about. And then, did the same, fell flat on my back, really hurt.
This is really easy to go on the back wheel. It's also really easy to go all the way back and land on my back.
Yeah, it's one of, because I think that was the experience. Mountain bikes, I could never lift the front end up, like never. And then the first time I went on a trials bike, you don't think you need the brakes that much, and sadly everything's on. Well, majority of it's on the back wheel.
I always found as well, you're always like on trials, but always over the handlebars as well. So you'd always give it to a friend at the skate park, like, and then they're from a BMX background, like, watch me bunny up this, and they. Because their weight's forward, they bunny hop and ended up sort of like doing almost like a front flip.
Yeah,
I've seen so many go over the bars.
You try and lift up, but what happens is your back just lifts up more than the front, and you're just leaning far into it. So we are calling you trials riders now, guys, because you're getting into the sport. Doesn't matter how long or what. What trials bikes are you guys riding right now? We'll start with Charlie. What are you riding at the moment?
So I've just built up an Inspired Arcade.
Like the proper street machines.
Yeah, I went on Ben's mod when I first started, and it was the weirdest thing I've ever ridden, and I couldn't even stay upright on two wheels than anything else.
He rode it for like 40 seconds and just went,
I didn't like it.
Can't do that.
Pat had his street bike at the warehouse, and he was like, have a go at this. And I sort of tried that, and I was like, okay, this feels kind of a bit more natural. I can manoeuvre it a little bit more. It's much kind of heavier. I've kind of gone down that route and gone with the sort of street trials vibe.
Oh, so, I mean, that's how quickly you should. I'm guessing people would know, like, what bike do I ride? And there's like 3 or 4 different types of trials bikes, right? Downhill bike, you just get on it. It's
I think it's good to see as well, because you mentioned, Charlie, about your exposure to trials first off was seeing like the Danny Mac like way back home, so that kind of almost sets the precedent of like that's what I want to do.
That's what you have in your head.
Yeah,
and that's what you kind of perceive. Yeah, that's what you. I mean, we call our videos. We can do street trials, but some people don't think that is street trials. It's like, well, we're just doing trials on the street.
Well, similar to us, like I got into, and the reason why I still ride mod was with people like Craig Lee Scott, who rode a 20-inch on the street. So I think it was, no matter how awful that bike felt, it was like, this is what Craig Lee Scott rides. Yeah. This is what I've got to do. And you've obviously done the same. Well, like I say, they've done the same.
Yeah, you just create that sort of precedent to yourself. I'm sure if I was just watching a 26-inch rider, I think in my head I'd be like, right, I'm going to build up to that eventually. Yeah. So this is what we were saying about getting into the sport and clicking and also creating your own bias right away. Not necessarily a bad thing, because it's you're like, I like how that looks, that's how I want to be, or we always aspire to generally work towards something.
I think we definitely see that as well when there was a certain age of when people were getting into inspired bikes, they were kind of starting at a certain time. Like a lot of people started in 2005 were on the TGS style, street, as you called it, bikes. But then 2010 onwards was the rise of the inspired and
the accessibility of that.
Yeah, I think a lot of people, when you say when did you start, what bike was you on? And if you was in 2010 rather, you more likely would have started on inspired, I'd imagine.
Absolutely, yeah. And I think age. We forgot to. How old are you guys right now? What sort of age are you started at?
I'm 33.
And I'm at 28.
And 28, so the same age as.
Ben's convinced I'm older.
So yeah, Ben's a little bit old because I just had to think how old I was. I was like, I'm not 30 yet. You're 30 this year. I'm next year, aren't we? So we're the in-betweens. But sorry, let me get to my point. A lot of riders that I've heard of, similar to sort of your ages, they're going straight onto what people call big bikes. They think, oh, cool, and they just assume that a 20-inch is a kid's bike.
Yeah.
That sort of that concept, and I think that element can change people's view on what they're going to ride for trials. Like you say, Charlie, oh, I'll have an arcade or a hex. Someone else who watches trials might think, well, I'm not going to get a 20-inch because that's what kids ride.
Yeah.
What was your first view on the like the variety of trials that you have there? What did you think? What did you think to that? Being like, oh, are there benefits? Is it good or bad?
I think, I mean, for me, I sort of remember back from my exposure to trials when I was younger, there was a shop in Skipton that used to stock Handsome Dog, which will be a name that I'm sure many people are familiar with. And
I have heard that before.
Oh, yeah.
One of me, yeah.
And I remember he used to stock Honzas as well. And so that was my first exposure to trials bike, was going in those shops and seeing those bikes on the shop floor. So to me, a modified, that was a trials bike, with big fat tyre on the back.
You said the key word in there as well, began with O and A-Z-A.
Yeah.
Onza, see?
Onza.
Again.
Yeah.
The first I was exposed was an Onza, you know.
That's it. So to me, that was a trials bike, and that's what all the kids had, because you know, they used to sell the T Master and the TV and stuff like that with all the bright colours, and all that's what the kids bought. That's what they got bought for Christmas. So that's what I used to see. So working here, when I came here and I looked at the mods, so I just kind of thought, oh well, that's a trials bike. I know that. Obviously from Danny McCaskill and Ali Clarkson and all the other guys who are riding street at the minute, Ben Travis, you sort of know the inspired brand and you know their style of bikes. But I didn't sort of make the link from that to traditional trials. I kind of thought that was its own thing, like it was some kind of
interesting.
Yeah,
that is interesting.
Like a niche of street riding almost, like the sidekick I used to have. I kind of looked at it and thought, oh, well, that's just an evolution of what I was doing on the sidekick. I didn't really make the connection that it had branched off from.
Yeah, because some people think that it sort of stemmed from dirt jump into trials, but it's, if you actually look at it, if anything, every bike discipline could have stemmed from trial. Potentially could have.
Yeah,
stemmed
like
from trial.
what you said about the DMR sidekicks. I remember that you always used to be like the MBUK DVDs and stuff. There was always people on jump bikes doing sort of trials moves. So that's, I can definitely see where you.
And at that point, the only reason they became a trials bike was because of the gearing.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? It wasn't this whole geometry and seat maneuver, and it was that people's view of what a trials bike was very different. Charlie, what about yourself? What was your kind of in your head? What was your view of a trials bike?
So oddly enough, even though my first exposure to trials was kind of that street riding, and I ride a street bike, I kind of, when I was doing a little bit of research into Tartybikes before I come for the interview, my kind of similar to Ben, my immediate reaction was a trials bike was this weird thing with super long stem and tiny wheels and no seat, and it kind of looked odd. That was kind of that's what I thought a trials bike was. Yeah. And again, it's kind of similar to Ben, that the street trials was kind of its own little kind of niche thing off to the side, and it wasn't, the two weren't really.
Yeah, kind of married together somehow, even though they aren't, but they are. Yeah. It's a weird. It's very interesting because they are. Are they different disciplines? Not really. It's the same move, you know. Is it like say an MMA with boxing, or I'm really trying to create that. There's no fine line because. No,
I don't think there is at all, because I ride my street trials bike pretty much like a trials bike. I don't do a lot of streety moves. Like my timing's terrible on bunny hop, so I end up normally on my face most of the time. So I do a lot of kind of more like slower and deliberate trials moves.
Technical things.
Technical stuff, but just on a street bike.
But I think that's for any new rider like yourselves, you're going to probably spend, I think I spent the first year, probably wasted it, just the first year actually doing techie, annoying, like frustrating moves that you're just trying to get the basics down.
I think they were the more fun things to do on trials bikes, because like you couldn't ever really do that kind of techie stuff on a jump bike or like a mountain bike. It's too cumbersome. You know, you're sitting there like the suspension's going, the gearing's like a little bit wrong, all the angle of the bars and things doesn't really work. So when you switch over to a trials bike, I remember that was the thing, you just pot around on a curb for ages, and it was just so satisfying doing the little techie stuff along a little balance beam or whatever, and you've got so much more maneuverability.
We still do that now.
Yeah.
I can't even joke to you. On the weekend, we headed up to, shout out to Bike Trial Academy. It's reopened at the moment. Fantastic spot. we were there on the weekend, and there's like Oliver Waitman, some other riders who they're considerably younger than us. We were riding the same beam, and if not, they were doing better than us. Again, it was really encouraging to see and nice to see that despite it being anyone who's new to the sport, you turn around and go, you rode for 6 months, but I can't do that, and I've rode for 15 years. And I sort of love that.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? I'm sure next time we're out and about, we get to ride with Ben and Charlie, and Charlie's going, Matt, I rode along this rail. Have you? No.
Well, it's to do with
I don't like that.
It's people's weaknesses and strengths as well. People really in the trial scene gravitate towards that. We work out what someone's good at or not good at. Like when you're sort of riding as a group anyway, and that's then helps you, give ammo to help push each other and go, well, hold on a minute, he's not done that beam. Like, is that? Oh, I'm not really good at beams. Oh, go on and get along that beam, then do it. Like. Well, I think we skipped as well. We missed out. Ben, what bike are you riding at the moment?
Sorry.
For the benefit of the listeners.
So I've got a Varial 1010 at the minute, modified, and I also built up a Cox Level Boss as well.
Oh, the Level Boss, the old school. I think I did see a clip on Instagram. Those who haven't, you can go and check out on their Insta there. I was trying to guess what year.
2 bikes already, man.
Like, poor Tom over here is like, what?
I want a big wheel bike, maybe. This is like me 15 years into sport.
It's all right.
Awesome. That's good. And between the two, what's working for you? What do you like?
I think the mod for me is a little bit easier to learn on because it's so light and it's so easy to throw around and it's so easy to balance it on the back wheel. But the Cox is really stable. It's low bottom bracket. It's just a bit more of a stable bike. But I mean, that came about when I put a post up on Trials Forum and said, look guys, I'm new to the sport. Show me some cool videos. I want to see some videos. I want to see what Trials was like in its heyday and stuff like that. And everybody started pointing me towards Chain Spotting and Evolve as well. Was one of the other ones. And I saw those videos and I saw guys riding bikes like the Cox. I was like, cool, I want one of those. That looks really fun. I'll see if I can build one up. That's how that came about.
Yeah, just to experience it. I get it, because you see it and you're like, oh, but they don't do those anymore. Oh, wait a minute, I work at Tartybikes.
What it was is that you see the modern riders these days on mods who are really good, like, Collie Rolls. It's just, he's like superhuman. And you look at that and it's like, that's not relatable. I can't do an up to front, up an 8-foot wall. Not in a million years.
Yeah, it is quite extreme. I can definitely see that from you guys.
Yeah. You look at the Evolve videos and you look at them riding the street and think, I could maybe do that. That's kind of relatable. Those spots that they were riding, you think, that looks like something I could maybe have a go at. Let's get the bike and let's give it a try.
I think as well because the moves as well were very much still the fundamentals, but just bigger or more exaggerated. So it would be just rear wheel hop. Everything was like 2 rear wheel. So it's just like I get that, I can piece that together, but. When you watch Charlie, you think, Jesus, like, where the hell is he going
he's
now?
Just added another
he's on his front wheel, he's on his back wheel, he's gone backwards on the front. You're like,
he didn't quite make that, but somehow he's hooking it. I'm like, what? Of course. I'm sure that was going to be one of like questions here. Like, we were never able to watch Charlie at this level until maybe a year ago, 2 years ago, or when he got to that. What were your first impressions of seeing? For example, like someone Charlie on a 20-inch or
Jack on his 26.
Jack on his 26. Like it's just another level. What were your thoughts on that?
Just like mind-boggling just watching on that guy ride. Like just seeing the stuff. Like I kind of watched the video and you're almost like talking to yourself. I was like, nah, he's never getting up there. And he like gets up and you're like, what? Like how have you managed that? It's just
just sort of looking at it because I still do it. Looking at it, going, where is he going? Is he going up? Oh my God, he's gone up that wall. And then we've been doing it.
Does he do the same sport we do? Like,
yeah.
The thing is, it makes it look so effortless as well. And it's just like it's almost like he kind of floats up these like massive walls and across these gaps, and it's just it's absolutely mind blowing.
And it can be hard to relate to that because you're just thinking like that is next level, but. When you do anything long enough, you've got to get good at it. Surely.
I don't know what happened to us.
Yeah, I know. Don't know what we were doing wrong there, but we'll carry on. And what I wanted to ask now, you've got your bikes now, and you guys are progressing. Is there anything in trials you personally are sort of working towards? Any goals that you have moving forward with your trials journey? I will call it.
Definitely. So the big one for me is side hop. trying my best to learn side hops.
It's all I can do, mate. So
yeah.
it's okay. Come find me.
Side hops and sort of side hops and up to front are the two on my bucket list that I want to do, because you kind of look at the guys who are really good at riding, look at the spots that they're riding, and you just think, if I could do that, it opens up so many possibilities of what I can actually ride. And I think that seems to be the driving force behind learning. It's kind of, you look at a spot and think, right, what technique do I need to ride that? And once you learn it, it's such a good feeling, because it just opens up. It's like, level 2, and now you can go and do all this other stuff now that you know how to do that. So that's the goal for me anyway.
I think for me, it's just kind of working on the fundamentals. I'm a little bit fresher to the sport than Ben is. So, it's just kind of working on that for the back wheel hops and kind of really enjoying doing that kind of thing. I keep joking I need to finesse my landings a bit more. I come drop off something and land very heavy, and sometimes even fall off a lot. So, it's kind of working on a bit of finesse to the stuff that I'm already doing, and just trying to build it up and get a bit bigger from there.
Bit of a style.
More control. Well, that's it. You look at all the good riders, and they always get control down. That's
Well, it's this leads me on to an area I wanted to talk about, where there's two ways to go into the trials moves world, right? And I feel like we both did the different routes. Please correct me if I'm wrong.
Okay, yeah, go for it.
Right, Tom is amazing at technical. His balance, his pausing, you've got the control is there, right?
Yeah.
The control is there. He just needs to put more power into his control. That's it for you, right?
Yeah.
I'm the opposite. I've got really low control, to be honest. I feel I've got the lack of control, but I have got the power.
Yeah.
So it's generally I might be able to go bigger than you, but when it comes to landing on something smaller or staying on it, you're going to...
Even just bailing, I think I've got more control of bailing.
He's got more control, yeah.
If you've ever seen an edit of Matt, you just see that he ends... The bike will be in one location, it'll be on the other side of the other place.
I still don't know. I'm trying to learn how to fall off. But anyway, my point being, there's a few different routes. You can just get on the bike and fricking send it. Send it, go for it. Doesn't matter where you're landing. You're I'm going from here to here. Or there's an element of sort of really controlled and what's the word? Just a bit more relaxed, I'd like to think. What do you feel perhaps your approaches are to the sport right now? Are you taking the more technical side of things and then progressing with power?
I'm kind of, I want to get the techniques right. So I've had a few crashes. When you kind of start out, it's just doing little stuff and you think, oh, this is really cool. But the first time you kind of hover up to the edge of a big wall and bottle it, it really hurts.
Yeah.
Let's just take a step back a minute and just focus on the technique a little bit more.
Yeah.
So for me, it's kind of a mix of both. It's kind of working on the technique and then taking a brave pill and applying it in the real world.
I am the polar opposite. I am just send it and hope for the best. I do not have the technique to back up some of the things I attempt some days, but I go for it anyway. And
this is why that's what keeps it interesting in the sport, because that way nobody has taken the same route as to achieving potentially the same goal, right? I'll get up that wall, you'll get up that wall. Someone might say, well, Tom, that was rather stylish. Matt got up it to back wheel, but definitely wasn't stylish. You know how it is? It's the same outcome, but really it's always down to the rider, how you felt about making it. If you were actually, I want to just do it really nicely and really smoothly. That's why I find if I rode every day like Ali C, oh, no, that wasn't smooth enough, I've got to do that again, I would go mental. Yeah. I'm I've done it once, done, ticked, done. I then, some.
I like it because it also suits your style as a person as well. Because some people do have that kind of finesse or OCD about life as well. Yeah. I've got to get everything cool,
and this
arranged and lined up.
Tom's relates in his riding. That's what it is. Organisation,
isn't it, how that comes across.
Timing. Whereas for me, I'm so erratic, and I'm so Tom's the one who turned up with all
I never thought of that. Yeah, your riding
is
erratic.
Who's just who's always more got planning involved, and it's this, that, and the other. And I'm just oh mate, I wing life, and somehow that's how I ride my bike.
This is the test then. So does that then apply to you guys?
Yeah. Who's more organised out of the two of you then?
Are you guys balls deep into everything?
Oh, yeah.
That seems to be saying in the riding. See?
Well, it's kind of we do that thing that all sort of new riders do, where you film yourself and you watch yourself back, and you do something at the time. You think, yeah, that was sick, that looks great, and then you watch it back on the video, and you look like, oh, I look like a spider on a hot light bulb. You know, I need to redo that.
Well, that's what I find with trials. Watch yourself back. Go, man, I tried so hard at that. Why? Let me watch that back. Wow, it really didn't look like I tried.
Like, I didn't even bend my knee. Like, to me, it feels like I'm going, you know, like doing all the moves, and it just doesn't go anywhere.
Yeah, is that kind of progression? And are you guys seeing progression in your riding quite quickly? Because I know that getting results is the key for sort of moving on, like moving forward and carrying on.
Yeah, so I think I definitely am. I've only been riding since like December. Put into context, it's like not very long. I should have asked
that question. So both of you been riding like months, less than a year since you started the job, right?
Yeah, 100%. Yeah. So I felt like I progressed really quickly, and kind of my riding style of being like kind of just send it. I was able to do sort of really big things.
That's totally okay, Charlie. That is a thing.
You do, in the warehouse, we've got a drop off in there that scares the living daylights out of your table. And I spent probably the better part of 4 months, and I finally cracked it. He came in after 2 months and just sent it straight off.
Just saying it all, that would be the same, isn't it? If it was a beam involved, you'd be doing it, and I'd be like, no. But as soon as it's like, oh, that's only a little bit of fear. Like, I'm not scared of death. Let's go.
I think it's me and Ben ride together quite a lot, and I actually think our styles kind of complement each other a little bit, because Ben's kind of got the technique down, so I can watch him and see what he's doing and work out how he's managed to do those things.
I agree more. Yeah.
And then I kind of just send it, which then gives, like, correct me if I'm wrong, gives kind of Ben a bit of a boost to go, well, he's only been riding like 3 months, I can't be like hitting one up on me now.
It's healthy competition. Yeah, that's what we like to hear, especially like obviously you guys are working together and riding together, and it's one of those, you're spending a lot of time with each other. Like, you want to keep it healthy, the competition. Like, by the way, mate, I did that. You better step it up. And we sort of do that. Me and Tom do that with each other. He definitely makes me realise that I need to like calm down, slow down. So like watching him do something makes me real. I'm like, oh yeah, actually, hang on, let's just try and take a leaf out of his. But and that helps 100%. And often people don't do other moves until you've watched somebody else do it.
Yeah,
I think.
I mean, whilst we're talking about sort of riding, that might be a good chance to get into our quick fire round. We can do this. Yeah, we'll do question at a time, but but you both take your answers. So you might have heard this if you listened to the podcast before.
Yeah.
So now I feel like they've probably got their answers ready, but we'll see.
What's funny is they've probably got their answers ready. Have we got our questions ready?
I was sort of stalling, buying time there. I was like, Matt, do the first question. I can't remember what it was.
I've forgotten what it was.
Same 3 questions, but we never remember. Let's go with your favourite spot so far on your trials journey. Like, what does a favourite spot look to you? It could be a place, could be things in the setting.
Could be the warehouse.
Let's just see what
I mean, the favourite spot I've done currently is probably Blackpool Promenade, the Moon Rocks.
Ooh,
down there. I don't know if you guys have seen like videos and stuff.
That's actually my list to go to, yeah.
Mate, epic. I've only done a competition now. I'd never rode. That is where I met Cap, who you've got his job. Stranger, you said that's the first time I met him there and saw how big his riding was. Like, anyway, sorry, just reminded me of that. Amazing spot. What about yourself?
My favourite spot at the minute is the one we're going to tonight, which is Preston Docks, which is another one of Cap's local haunts.
Preston Docks. I don't know about that one. We will be having a look.
I'm sure that's probably come from a few videos. It's always like ducky.
Oh, there's plenty of videos of Cap riding around there.
I mean, I'll definitely be on that.
It's a great spot. It's so much fun.
Yeah, it's a really progressive spot. Lots of small stuff, lots of big stuff. It's really cool.
That's good. Nice little range there. So you guys you're at your favourite spots. Who are you riding with? Who's going to maybe teaching you something, inspiring you? Who are you riding with?
I mean, I'm trying to get Cap back out because I've ridden with him a couple of times.
Yeah.
It's just amazing to watch, mind-blowing to watch.
Yeah.
We're going riding tonight with one of the local lads called Adam Cox, who we went riding with for the first time the other day, and he blew me away how good he was as well. So it's, I think hopefully try and get those two out, sort of pit them against each other.
Yeah.
Sit back and watch the show.
Yeah, another bit of healthy competition to get you going. What about you, Charlie?
Yeah, I think I have to agree with Ben. If you get to get Cap out, I've only ridden with Cap like a very small handful of times. It's normally in the warehouse before he left. It'd be good to get the boss man back out again.
Yeah, I was going to say. I was wondering if one of you was going to say, "Oh, we should probably say Adam."
Yeah, he's definitely listening in somewhere, so we should probably include him in the conversation.
Yeah, no, I'd like to think that you guys will drag him out at some point. So great answers, though. Yeah, I don't know if people haven't seen. There's a lot of videos of Matt and Cap, many of them riding, and really good street videos and incredible style. Very stylish rider too.
So, you're in your desired spots, Moon Rocks, Preston Docks.
Yeah.
It almost rhymes there. Unfortunately, Cap doesn't rhyme, but yeah, you know, with Cap and a few of the other local guys. What that doesn't make sense. I can't even get it. What is your favourite move? What would you be doing at this spot, each of you? Let's start with Ben.
Favourite move? It's a toss-up between replacements or pigeons and pedal-ups. So I'm a beginner and I can't do huge moves, but when you get those moves right, you kind of feel like, yeah, I'm a trials rider. It's even better when you get like a little kid watching and you go, wow.
Yeah, and it's quite a nice move to kind of, like you say, you're shifting straight from either two wheels straight up to your back wheel, or for those who don't know, Ben's called it a pigeon. It's also a wheel swap.
Yeah, I call them pigeons.
I don't know. I can't remember. There's only anyone further north than Birmingham calls them pigeons, I think. Please get at us. Tell us whatever you call it.
Yeah. But that's when you're sort of static on a rock. Both wheels are touching. You're usually a bit of an angle upwards, and then you switch through.
But it is satisfying. Yeah, move nice and explosive, like from nothing straight up to the back wheel, and it can be used.
And I suppose it is very unique to trials. I mean, there's a lot of stuff that's unique to trials, but
that in itself is, because generally everything else you roll, this is a very static move, isn't it? So that's a good one. But what about you, Charlie? What sort of moves getting you?
So kind of similar to Ben. As I said, obviously being a beginner, there's not much I'm doing at the minute, but really enjoy replacements. When they go right, they just feel brilliant.
Yeah.
I'm liking wheel hops over gaps at the minute as well. Obviously not a particularly big gap because I haven't really got the drive to clear anything too huge, but I do find that quite satisfying when you sort of line up over a bit of a gap and make it and don't die. It's always a plus.
Well, it's the sort of thing, isn't it? It's a gap. It's just seeing that progression, isn't it? Seeing that there is something there, and you can make it a bit bigger and go, well, actually, I've done a little bit bigger there, and
And then soon you'll just become inch hunters, mate. Because for miles, an inch is a mile. Like you'll just do that inch. Oh, it's only like we're going that extra inch. It's not that simple. You have to get an extra inch. You've got to ride another year, and then to get another inch, you've got to ride another year, and then it's like.
Well, even on the day, like you'll do like a move, and then it's like, I nailed that. That's great. I'm going to go down this bit of wall. It's only an inch higher. I'll be able to get that.
Completely out of reach. It's so crazy how just such a minute amount of material or wall just completely changes the way that the move feels to you and how you can necessarily enjoy it. I'm sure you guys have seen that, right? You're just thinking, oh, I've just gone up that. Let's go to this next bit.
Yeah, it's hard. It's, trying to get that extra little bit can be take a long time.
We call ourselves inch hunters.
It's drops that do it for me. Sort of, you'll do a drop, be really comfortable, but you stick a pallet's worth on top of that, and suddenly it feels like you're on a skyscraper, and you think, wow, this feels mad.
I've always found with drops, you'll hit an element where you go, right, actually, I can do any drop I want now. I can do any drop, because you've got confidence on that, and it's all a matter of just being like, just send it, just drop it off.
Commitment. Yeah.
I remember when I first started, I'm glad that one of you didn't say it, but one of my favourite things when I started was drop-offs. Please, anyone in the comments, let us know, because it was all you could do. Right?
I found an old video of like the people that got me into trials riding, and it was the stuff that I was like, wow. And it was just a video of drop-offs.
Because
once you learn it, it's so impressive, because you just change, like, maybe it'd be a bench, because then that's then relatable. Maybe it'd then be like the side of like a big rock or whatever. It was just, and I watched the whole video and it's just boom, 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 just the drop-offs.
It was my first recognition on Trials Forum, now that I think about it, was me dropping off a roof on a Monty. This was a school roof, like the scariest thing I've done.
Yeah,
and my Monty crank snapped. Like, it's the first time I was like, oh, I broke a Trolls piece. And that was when I knew. I was like, I've been riding for like 2 years. I've just one move, and people are commenting. It's like, I feel like I'm a trials rider, you know. But I think you were more right in like, I'm jumping up a wall, I'm getting up it. I feel like more like a trials rider, and I'm really glad that the new guys have gone into that. Perhaps drops are gone. They're out of the pit. Are they really that impressive?
I know, but that always used to be the thing when you started, though, because it's like you said, at school, whatever. There was always like the odd roofs at school. You'd be like, oh, I'd love to
off
drop
the
it back.
shed, yeah.
Yeah, like end of the school term. Like I want to do that. Like before we break up or whatever. Like the last thing I do. Yeah.
That's one of the first trials videos I watched, like proper trials videos, were Craig Lee Scott. And you kind of see people dropping off, and you look at him, and you just think, bloody hell, you know, that's insane that you would even go and play. You know, you wouldn't jump off that without a bike.
Oh no,
no
yeah.
chance.
That's why we're watching him do drop gaps. But I think at that time, obviously, we weren't good enough to do these big drop gaps. So to be in his element, you're like, well, at least I've got a picture on the back wheel of me hanging off the edge. And somehow people are like, oh my god, like that's impressive. Doesn't matter to anyone really.
What I really want to know as well, have you guys got to the point yet when you're out walking around in the street without your bike and you look at a wall and you're like, oh, I could do like
Yes, every day.
Yes, it's happening. This is it. That is our life, isn't it?
yeah, like whenever you go on holiday or whatever, you're like, oh, just do a little gap there.
I was out for a walk with my partner yesterday, and I was looking at some rocks. She said, "Oh, will you just stop looking at rocks?"
That's really funny. I know that FXN are doing a piece on what women say to trials riders, like literally their first interpretation of what they see and how they deal with it. So that's going to be really interesting. I think that'll touch base on what Ben's just said.
Well, our girlfriend, whenever I watch it on my phone, you just hear, and she's like, "You watching the videos again?" I'm like, no, this is like just wildlife, nature.
Because people hear that and they go, "Is that your jingle?" I'm like, "No, that's just a normal break." Not list. I promise, I'm not putting my video on loop all the time. Did we miss? Right, we were in the quickfire. I just want to make sure we covered them all, didn't we?
Yeah, we done them all. Yeah,
we did. Oh well. There's one here that's not as quickfire. They may not have experienced yet, but do you guys yet have a shindig story? We're going to move on to one of the other sections. Yeah. One of them probably doesn't for a good reason.
Yeah, I've got a few battle scars now.
Already? Since December. Yeah. So can you tell us a bit about your worst battle scar?
Oh, my worst battle scar was a recent one, actually, on the Cox. We've got the trials area here at work, and we like to ride during lunch a little bit. And there was a bit of a drop gap between some pallets that I've never done before, and I kind of grabbed the bike, hopped onto the pallets, got on the back wheel, and then realised, I can't do this. And then
in midair?
Yeah. I went, oh no, and sort of like panic bailed off the bike. And the bike kind of rammed my shin into a pallet and just took all the skin off the front of my leg. Yeah, that was lovely. Yeah.
It's funny how we love to hear the stories, yet we're always still sort of like, put off by it, or I'm grossed out. I mean, my legs look vile as they are, but it's all part of the sport anyway, Ben. So I think we can. You say you had been initiated as a trials rider.
Feels good. Yeah.
Well, you will be glad to hear. Actually, now you've told us the story, we've got some. We call them the solo gash stickers. Anyone who sends us a picture of their shin, or we see them hurt themselves, or they do something reasonably gnarly, you get a shindig gash sticker. These cannot be bought. They cannot be bribed. They cannot be stolen. They have to be earned.
You owe me about 3.
So, I was about to say. So I'll get them in the post for you there, Ben. Charlie, how are your shins doing?
So I mean, I don't have a particular one shindig story, but
just wait. You wait. Don't worry.
When I started, when I got into riding, Ben lent me a pair of Jitsi shin guards. Because I've done my shins from my years of mountain biking, and I borrowed them for about 3 weeks. And after that point, I turned to Ben. I was like, "Mate, I'm gonna have to buy you some new ones because they're covered in so much of my blood. I can't give these back to you anymore." So I kept his old shin guards and bought him new ones.
Wow.
But it does make sense that we don't condone. We will say that, of course, as new trials riders, wearing shin pads is very sensible. We have to keep being clear. It's like we don't condone anyone that doesn't, not wear them. But maybe that's why you haven't got a shindig yet.
I mean, I've got a few scars, but not
not anything like Ben's.
I have been told that it is possible. Adam Moore would touch base on it. It is possible to get a shindig with shin pads. So
yeah, I believe that. It's not.
We shall see. I've clocked on this weekend. We had our first ever shindig on site, like a brutal one, and it was really funny. I'm sure we can say it. So we were riding with Charlie Rolls. Everyone sort of knows who he is. He falls off his bike quite nastily. His mum, obviously, oh no, Charlie, you're right. Oh, Matt, we've got a shindig. We've got a shindig. It's like, yeah, screw my son. He's fine. Come on, Charlie, go in. It was just perfect. Just like another initiation to realizing that how important it is now and how impactful it seems to be to get a shindig. But of course, Charlie, when you get a shindig, because it's not a matter of if, you will get one day. I hate to say it.
I know it's going to happen. I'm just waiting.
You let us know. You send us that picture. We'll have a sticker for you in the post right away.
You guys will be the first to know. Trust me.
I mean, it's part of it. You know, if you're not seeing blood, I don't know if you're really trying hard enough. Speaking of which, what pedals are you guys running? Actually, that might have a contributing factor. Because I need to start asking the guest this, because
pedal and shoe.
You either
combo.
have it's a pedal and shoe combo, but there's this biased view already where people are like, oh no, platforms, no, cage pedals.
Yeah,
like, what are you guys riding? You're brand new to the sport, so I want to see what you've been.
For me, it's just standard alloy platform pedals at the minute, because that's what feels familiar to me from mountain biking.
Yeah.
So yeah, nothing like the old bear traps. They just look like horrible.
What do you think to the cage design? Is that obviously they're not very common on mountain bikes, are they? Cage pedals.
No. They just look like they're going to wrap your chins.
It is strange, yeah.
I get it from a weight point of view and definitely from a grip point of view, but I don't know. I just like the feel of flat pedals, really.
Yeah. What about you, Charlie?
I'm the same on platform pedals. Mine are a Vertec ones. They're like a composite platform with steel pins. Yeah. I got them off my mountain bike when I built my trials bike up. So
yeah, I mean, this is it. If your foot's familiar with that surface, why change it? I understand that. So this might be another reason to it. I know a lot of people go for cage pedals and molds to your shoe.
Yeah, I'm on cage pedals. Yeah, it does. They do mold to your shoe very well, but it's
two nice big tracks there, and you've got marks in your shoe, and it's almost like a clip-in, but not a clip-in.
The way I see it is that it's a lot more grip, and it's going to be less likely to get a shindig. But when you do, oh my god, you know.
Yeah, I think our first ever image for the Shindig podcast, you can find it on Facebook, is actually a caged pedal with Tom's skin attached to it.
Oh, lovely.
That was the very first.
That was the last, and ironically enough, that was when I got my 510 shoes.
Right. Oh yeah. Can you tell that story?
Don't think I actually have. Oh,
no,
that was so bad on a multitude of reasons. So it was 510 shoes, which people, you got better grip. Well, how are you getting shindigs, Tom? What's that about? But it also happened to be my girlfriend was there filming
for
me.
The first time
she's ever seen trials.
She's never come. She came to Radical Bikes. That was it. Yeah.
First ever time. Just do a reasonably simple gap. Foot slips off. Bang. And there's just blood everywhere. It goes into the socks. White socks. Stain in the socks. And forever tarnished her image of what trials biking is. And then we made a podcast called the Shindig Podcast.
It's all relevant.
But I think the 510s, because they grip so well, and again, it's coming back to the thing of cage pedals, they grip so well that they hold grip to the very, very last minute. Then your foot slips, and then it's more consequential. Yeah. Whereas your foot comes off all the time. You're just like,
it does regularly. Yeah.
So it's not as impactful.
When the Bristol video comes out this week, you'll see I almost get a shindig on that drop gap. You've seen that one where my foot comes off the pedal and I'm doing a can.
And everyone's like, at least it's not a shindig. Yeah.
Well, I think I would have been happier had I actually got one. We did forget to ask. So they're the pedals you guys are running, platforms. What's your choice of shoe? Are you running a generic trainer, or have you got a trial shoe?
So I am using a pair of Shimano GR5s, which are like look similar to 510s, but they're just
Right.
like a
So
Shimano
it is
version of
a bike-specific shoe,
Yeah.
really, yeah.
Yeah, bike specific, yeah.
I was using 510s, but I had a knackered old pair of like Vans, sort of, I don't know, low heel skate shoes. And I actually really like them because they mould to the pedal.
I won't fault you there. Yeah, I deliberately wear my Vans to rides because I often forget my shoes somehow, and then if I do, I'm like, oh, the Vans will do. Like that's what I rode as a kid. It was like Vans. It's something to do with the little triangles in there, and used to fit in my pedals quite nicely. But we're going to try and do that from now on. I really will need to get people's combinations and preferences because I know some people like to wear things that are like glorified socks, like they want their feet to wrap around the pedal. And
I really like that.
I tend to not. I think something a bit stiffer that's like sticky, like that kind of stickier rubber. But it's only a matter of time till those pedals be hitting into your shins.
So you guys have been riding for a little bit. And you've alluded to maybe some of the moves that you want to tick off next on like your trials journey. What is the next kind of expansion? What are you excited for in terms of trials? Are you going to be attending some of the competitions that are coming this year? There is a competition announced later on this year. Tell us a bit about that.
So I'm not too fussed about competitions. It's not really my thing. I've only ever done like a competitive race once in my life, and it was a cross-country race, and I hated every second of it. And I as soon as it finished, I left. I didn't even get my time or place or anything. I just
that was not for me. Goodbye.
Yeah. So competition's not really my thing. For me, I just want to get out and about, bike a bit more as frequently as I can, and just see what happens. Try and learn a few new things and ride a few more spots.
Yeah.
I think for me, competition's in the back of my mind because I've always done competitive mountain biking. So I want to see what competitive trials is like. But I think it's more those big group city rides that I'm kind of really looking forward to being able to do again. For us to Manchester or Liverpool or somewhere like that. I think that'd be, because those to me are the best sessions when you've got loads of riders bouncing off each other and everybody's doing cool moves and giving you advice and stuff. So yeah, that's definitely something I'm looking forward to.
It's a good excuse to get up that way.
Yeah, a bit like that Shindig show. They do really good.
They do some vlogging videos. Maybe we should get.
So I've seen.
You have to remind me actually. So is the warehouse anywhere near Preston? What am I thinking that? Yeah.
It is. Yeah, it is in Preston. Yeah.
Oh, actually, right. Okay. Now I'm starting to. I've just clocked on. Well, a good excuse for us
Got
to
a nice little route there.
Get up that way. I've had an amazing night out in Preston. If anyone listened to the takeover with Jason Lake, he did the Onza sticker cleavage was done in Preston. If anyone needs some context, I had a challenge to stick an Onza sticker on a woman's cleavage, and it worked in about 8 minutes. I just went up to her and told her what I had to do. And it happened in Preston. So I realised we need to get up that way.
We need to go find that woman again.
Now.
Yeah.
We need to go find that Onza cleavage again.
She's still got it there.
We know.
Where did he go? He said he was going to come back.
I want to get up there because we need to get Ben and Charlie out on a vlog with a video with us for sure.
Yeah.
Again, mate, it doesn't matter on the level. It's all about getting out with the lads.
Progression and fun. That's one of the main metrics.
Exactly.
Yeah.
We want to come and ride the warehouse there. We'd love to come and have a little session there. It'd be really cool. I'm sure other people would want a video to check it out, see what's here for sure. And obviously put some names to some real faces and get to hang out with you guys. Get a ride in. So any excuse for us to go up that way, I think would be very nice. And I also have to thank one of you, whoever it was, for giving me that T-shirt. Someone gave me a T-shirt in an order there. That was very kind of you.
I thought that was me. That could have been Adam.
And there you go. So it might have been Adam. I have to say, thanks for sending me a Tartybikes, one of those new things. You did forget Tom though, but we'll sort that out later. We'll sort that out later, but really great for those little jersey. If people haven't seen them, there were some cool.
Yeah, like the sports sort of style one. Yeah.
Yeah, it was a first one of those. So if it wasn't any of you, you can thank Adam or whoever that was.
We'll pass it on there.
No, very kind, very kind.
So we're kind of getting there then. So is there? Obviously, you've spoke a bit about where we want to go with trials and things like that. What's kind of your message for anyone who's getting into trials? You're probably the best examples because so fresh to it.
Yeah, how are we doing?
At an age as well where like it's hard to pick up new skills or find the time for stuff. You know, what's it look like for you, and what would you say to anyone who might be on the fence with it?
I would say just bite the bullet and give it a go. But the most important thing I would say is you don't need to spend loads of money. You don't need to worry about doing crazy stuff. If you have a mountain bike, that'll do for now. And just give it a go. And for someone who's been mountain biking for a long time, I've seen the biggest improvement in my mountain biking over the past 6 or 7 months from doing trials. You know, honestly, give it a go and learn it, because even if you don't go into it sort of like full on, it'll improve your other riding so much.
Well, it's basic bike skills. I know we call it trials, right? And you're like, oh, I'm learning trials. But really, for the first good 6 months, like you've just said, you're actually just learning to control what's beneath you. And once you master that and your brain understands moving forward, backwards, you get on a mountain bike, like with me and you get on a mountain bike, we'd start doing back hops and things.
Yeah, starting to
but we can still do them.
Yeah. I mean, we get a lot of older people who are coming into the sport now off the back of what happened in the previous year. And it's the same old story. I've got kids. I don't have a lot of time. Great, do trials, you know?
Well, that's the thing. Kids can do trials too. I've noticed that, like dads bringing their children with them to be like, oh, go on, you just hop around this area, because they don't need to go far.
Well, like you said, not having a lot of time, like, you know, you managed to squeeze a ride in your lunch break. I can't think of any other discipline where, like, unless you've got a skate park on your doorstep, you can just go outside. Like, we can do it now. Like, you just go outside and just find your local surroundings, and there's
there's always a few hops in the garden
somewhere.
And I generally think, I guess on a mountain bike you can't do that for 10 minutes. Ride for 10 minutes. You're like, well,
it's pretty time effective in that way. Yeah. And how about yourself, Charlie?
I think just kind of echoing what Ben said, you know, just get out and give it a go. Like, from personal experience, like when I was younger, when I was first sort of introduced to for trial, it looks so inaccessible, I think, to some extent, when you're watching these guys like Danny Mac and Ali C doing this insane stuff. It looks like, you know, I remember watching that video going, I'm never going to be able to do anything like that. And I think you kind of put that out of your mind and just give it a go. It's so much fun to do it. And I think Adam touched upon it when he did his podcast. It's probably the most accessible form of riding a bike, because you don't have to go anywhere to do it.
Yeah.
As long as you've got a bike, you can kind of hop around up and down up your curb or your garden wall. And I think it's just definitely give it a go.
Yeah, anything with two wheels and brakes, I suppose.
Go for it.
Yeah. Anything with 2 wheels and brakes, just give it a go.
It is still fun having the little hop on, like, or a little. I mean, I was doing it at the weekend at the academy, just going up a little tiny beam. I'm like, you know what? Like, it was just a log, because I hate logs because they're rounded. So in my mind, there's no balance point on a log. It's like there's no middle bit. Like, where's the middle? Like, it's just entirely rounded. Where do I go? Like, I'm gonna fall off that. So yeah, I just spent ages doing that, and that's something you could easily have set up in your garden or just round the corner.
With like any sport that you do, or any hobby, I should say, you have good and bad days, right? You know, you have a day where I'm just not feeling it, not doing that, and you can't. This is why I love it, knowing that if I'm having a bad day, all I do is go, cool. Do you know what I can't do? It's just stay on a beam. The small stuff then becomes a big challenge. And you're able to then challenge yourself in an area, like you just said, go anywhere at lunchtime, like, well, oh, okay, I can't go and do massive stuff, but for someone that's like new to the sport, go in a little area and get a buzz and satisfaction from riding along something thin, or doing a tiny gap and seeing that progression, really.
I think it needs to be said as well, just from being involved in lots of different cycling communities quite heavily, the trials community is by far the nicest community of all the cycle communities I've ever been a part of.
It's coming really from newbies here, guys. You heard it here first. We aren't all abusive.
Yeah, I mean, not to do any other cycle sports a great disservice, but, you know, they can be a little bit nichey and a little bit cliquey and whatnot. But with the trials community and stuff, the level of support that you get from the community, from experienced riders. I remember I put a post up and Ali C commented, I was like, oh, wow, Ali C's commented on my post. And it's just that level of rider taking an interest in riders who are just starting is really cool. You know, it's a really nice feeling to get that feedback.
It's nice to be up and you sort of feel with the whole the excitement of the sport. And you feel like you're up there with the top riders in terms of like knowing what they're doing, them even just knowing who you are.
Yeah, and it's very accessible like that. Everyone knows everyone. Top riders know the people who are just starting out. That's what I love about it.
After that, Martin Ashton came and chatted to some weird blokes from London on this couch.
Yeah.
That was so accessible. We didn't think that would be that accessible. And 6 months after doing our first one with Charlie Rolls, going like, "Oh, what do we do? How do we talk?" It's just, it just adds to it, just from a rider's perspective, but not just from a rider's perspective, but from our podcast perspective. We've been able to access riders and people and have these discussions that in another sport you just probably couldn't get to it. You couldn't get that sort of depth. And that sort of,
but even like a ride, even if it's like not something yourselves have organised, like if there's a group of like 10 of you and there's like a few good riders, maybe a world rider or whatever, by the end of the ride everyone's talking to everyone. Like it's not like, oh no, he's over there practicing his own world because he's a world champ, he's got to be focused in on the move. He's got to have his press, so like, or his entourage or whatever. You get that in some like disciplines, but Charles is like, all right, mate,
we're all approachable. Like you could, any of the world top riders here, and you see them at Charlie's or anyone that's within reach, you just walk up to them and say, "Hey man, how's it going?" And they wouldn't be like, "Who the hell are you? Fuck off!" Like, get lost.
Well, that was awesome, man. Yeah, like,
It just seems to be we're somehow approachable people.
No, that's good observation. It's really nice and fresh to hear, like you guys, obviously being so fresh to the sport as well. That's. Yeah, admirable. Thank you, man.
Are we going to be seeing you guys at some of these events coming this year? One being potentially Radfest. It's a nice big trials festival.
Maybe.
Yeah, okay.
No.
If not, if you're still not sure, you definitely should be going because it will be like the largest trials probably event this year. And a new one just come up for September. There's a competition in Derby now.
Yeah,
that's popping up for all levels as well. And I know some people might not go to compete, but it'll definitely be an amazing event just to get everyone together again. That's the bottom line. When we have all of us together, we'll generally have a pretty good day.
Yeah, agree entirely.
No, I think this has been really informative.
Awesome. So where can our listeners find you guys? Instagram, Facebook? How do they find you? Because I'm sure they want to watch your journey and see you progress because it's great to watch.
This is going to be a bit cringe, but my Instagram handle is absolutely ridiculous. So it's maintenance.justice. And yes, there is a story.
We'll stick the link down at the bottom because I was like, now I remember.
Maintenance what? Sorry?
Yeah, it has a bit of a stupid backstory, but yeah, that's where you can find me.
Cool. We'll add it on the descriptions.
I started a new Instagram for trials riding, and I'm really terrible at actually putting anything on it frequently. But mine is the Trials Noob.
The Trials Noob, perfect. That's what this. And if you guys aren't sure, of course, you can now go and put some faces to the names. Tartybikes when you phone them up. Ben or Charlie, happy to help you out and assist. Like we've said before, everyone who's worked for Tartybikes, generally, we've had a backstory. We've potentially known who they are. So it is lovely to see some new aspects joining the team and helping us all out. I hope that now when everyone phones up or makes an order and they see those names, they can go, "Oh yeah, I know who that is there." And, little comments like, keep back hopping, guys. It's that kind of encouragement and personal level that you guys kind of offer at Ty. So it's a nice one. Thank you so much for everything you guys are doing.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
Yeah, brilliant. Yeah, really appreciate it.
Yeah. I have one final question. Sorry, Tom's just had to nip out for a work call. But one final question to round this up that we ask everybody. Who would you want to see on the podcast? You can say anyone. I'll get an answer from each of you. Who would you want to see?
I think for me, you need to get Craig Lee Scott on the podcast if you haven't already.
Yeah, okay. Tally next to his name. Yeah. We've got a few votes there.
See, I'd like to see kind of somebody like Ali C, because I watched so many of his videos.
Ali C, yeah.
Or Flip. I think Flip would be like the breakless wonder that is Flip. I would love to see him on here as well.
Well, this is good to hear. This is encouraging names that I've got reasonably high up on my list in the next few weeks. I've been a bit behind in getting them booked in because my real job started to pick up. So we'll definitely let me rephrase that. We shall hopefully be seeing those people on the show and getting the trials discussion out of them. Guys, thank you very much. Of course, we have been the Shindig Podcast. I'm Matt Pengelly. That was Tom Hutley. Thank you again to Ben and Charlie from Tartybikes. Awesome to get a new insight into the sport, and I'm so glad we were able to get fresh trials riders. You know, I think it was when Adam sort of reached out to us on this, I thought, what a fantastic idea. Of course, people want to hear. Hopefully, no one knows who you are. But now they definitely will. So thanks again, guys, and enjoy the rest of your day.
Thanks, Matt. Thanks, Tom.
You